So I've invited some friends of mine up here who are all a bunch of lawyers to talk about some practical, profitable business cases for NFTs that are not going to involve digital art, right? So come on up. And as you come up, just introduce yourself. We need some extra microphones, please. MJ, just introduce yourself. Go to that chair. I'm going to sit over here.
Hi, everyone. I'm
This
MJ.
microphone's not on.
All right. Sounded pretty loud in my ear.
Turn this microphone on. Microphone 3. Turn them all on. Oh, there. There you go.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is MJ Granados-Godoy, and it's going in and out. And I am...
Just hold it closer.
So it's me? Yes. Sorry.
It's not a good microphone.
Okay. MJ Granados-Godoy. I'm a business and real estate transactional attorney here in Miami, Florida. And I own a boutique law firm in Miami. So.
And MJ, what kinds of deals do? You put big business deals together, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're typically doing business deals in the millions, tens of millions. What's the biggest deal that you've put together for clients?
I think it was February, we closed an $80 million transaction, and next May we'll be closing an $862 million transaction.
Okay, so this is a person who doesn't fuck around with bullshit, right? Yeah. That's the main takeaway for you to get, right? All right.
All right, I'm Mindy. Wait. All right.
Why don't you both take the opportunity to make sure your microphones are on?
Okay, mine is on, but thank you. I am Mindy Previtera. I do divorce law, all things for smart people and protecting their smart assets. And I love empowering people through their divorce and separation.
I'm Patricia Casillo, Flanagan. It's working?
Pass the microphone.
There you go.
Could you guys get the microphone straightened out, please, right now?
My name is Patricia Casillo Flanagan. I'm an immigration attorney, and my passion is to help U.S. employers obtain the talent that they need to bring to the United States, and also foreign investors to be able to expand their business and their talents in the United States.
And Patricia is going to be doing a presentation either later today or tomorrow. I don't remember the schedule. Tomorrow, entitled
How decentralized finance is crucial for human rights.
How and why blockchain technology is really important for human rights. So she's represented people who had to come to this country because they were escaping some really bad stuff. And she's seen firsthand what happens when fiat currency is used as a tool of oppression against people. And so she's going to be giving a talk about that. MJ, by the way, later today or tomorrow?
Today at 3 o'clock.
Today at 3 o'clock, don't be late. She's going to be giving a talk entitled, What's it going to look like?
What's it going to look like when a DAO tries to buy commercial real estate property in downtown Miami?
So what's it going to look like the first time a DAO tries to buy a commercial property in downtown Miami? Spoiler alert, it's going to be a shit show. But it's going to happen, and so we should start anticipating it, right? All right? Tom?
My name's Tom Flanagan. I'm also a lawyer, shocker. My firm helps people get their lives back on track after they've had an accident, and I'm also an entrepreneur. I've practiced probably several different types of areas of law throughout my career, suing insurance companies, representing banks, did a little bit of work with the state attorney's office. Back in school, I interned there. So my talk tomorrow after Patricia's is going to be going after the rug pulls and the scammers. And I don't know if you guys were here earlier, but I'm giving a shout out to the CEO of RugDoc. She was giving her speech, and I thought that they're going to be a really good tool that I'm going to talk about later.
So one of Tom's areas of expertise, I guess you would call it, because once he gets the judgment against the bad actor, It's not like the bad actor just says, okay, you got me, here's the money, right? He has to then go and find the money and investigate and track it down. So he has a lot of experience in that, and he's going to be doing a talk tomorrow about how he's going to go after money when the first rug pull case comes to his firm. So you can just start thinking about that. And his presentation and the rug pull presenters earlier today are like perfect bookends, right? They're going to help you avoid getting screwed, and he's going to show you what to expect if you do get screwed. All right? And last and not least,
I'm Tom Petrelli. We take clients from chaos to clarity, and we specialize in high net worth asset cases for technology companies in Philadelphia and surrounding area, biotech companies, and pharmaceutical companies.
and so just to translate that into plain English for you guys to understand why he's up here and what makes this relevant for you, what Tom specializes in doing is basically taking companies apart piece by piece. So you'll get someone who comes to his firm, the owner of a very successful business, a tech company, for example, hint, hint, right? And Tom essentially takes your life apart and takes your business apart on behalf of your spouse who you are divorcing. So he's going to show you later today or tomorrow.
I think I speak one more time tomorrow, maybe.
And the topic is?
I don't know the topic.
You don't remember the
I don't
topic?
remember the topic, yeah.
It's going to be around how, if you are the owner of a tech company, raise your hand if you're the owner of a tech company or plan to be the owner of a successful tech company.
Get prenups.
Tom's going to be talking about how a divorce lawyer, or really it could be a bankruptcy lawyer or any kind of an investigator for that matter, is going to take, would go about taking your business apart. And this is really important because there's a lot of people acting like the metaverse is someplace to hide out in from the real world. And, spoiler alert, the sheriff who comes to seize your assets doesn't care about the metaverse. They're just going to come and seize your assets.
Right, an asset is an asset, doesn't matter.
Right. All right, so have a seat. And, yeah, I'm going to stand. You guys sit. Oh, we really don't have enough seats. Yeah, but then there's not enough room for any of us. Okay, so.
I sit all day.
Yeah, but then it looks weird. All right. You guys take that chair. And my hope is that this is an interactive conversation, right? So we're going to be talking about some real-world business use cases for NFTs that don't involve digital art. Some of them are going to be things that we are aware of, that we've seen. Some of them are going to be things that we have just studied and thought about. And some of them are just going to be imagination. And what I would really love to see if we can get going is if you all have some ideas for business use cases for NFTs, preferably that don't involve digital art, and we can, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus me, 6 lawyers. We all own multi-million-dollar businesses of our own. Let us help you think this stuff through. By the way, we're not giving legal advice, we're not giving tax advice, all the disclaimers here, right? You knew that had to come. All right, so who wants to kick us off with a cool business use case for NFTs that doesn't involve digital art?
I'll take a crack at it.
All right, you just gotta hold it closer.
All right. No COVID. So I deal a lot with real estate transactions, and I am really interested on how NFTs are going to change the world. And one of the most interesting topics is how NFTs will be used or could be used to purchase real estate between a lot of people. So there's a case used in the UK in 2019. It's not being done right now in Florida, but hopefully with some changes in legislature and once it catches up, this is something that could be done. But NFTs and real estate could really open up to a lot of people owning property and investing in property, not only in owning it, but also in the debt on property. So that is extremely interesting. You could basically open up, you could unlock equity without borrowing or moving. If you have a house, you need some extra cash, you could basically with NFTs get some cash to do a project or do what you need. So NFTs would be backed up by the ownership on the property. So that is an extremely interesting use of how you could apply this in the real world. If you own a property with a bunch of other people through NFTs, you could also rent it, and the rental income would be divided between all of them. So would the property management costs and whatnot. And with NFTs, you're basically avoiding, you're getting rid of that middleman, and you're able to do everything through the community and the people that own the NFTs with you on that property. So it's fascinating to me. This is going to change the way that real estate works. Real estate is a very solid investment that has been around forever, and now it could be available to everyone. You don't need to have $100,000 or millions of dollars to invest in real estate. Now you could be doing it through the vehicle of NFTs.
Real estate is really the original non-fungible property in the world. All right, who's next?
I can go next. So I'm very interested in disrupting the legal environment. Our clients don't like paying hourly fees and feeling they're not getting any value. And I'm looking at different ways to create more value for the clients. So one of the things I've kind of tossed around in my head was having NFTs that have specific amounts with it. So if you think your divorce is going to be $50,000, creating a token that's $50,000 that you can use and apply. And if your divorce only costs $20,000, you can then go and resell that token to another client or potential client and have a market, maybe not just for my law firm, but for other law firms that are interested in this, and possibly make some of that money back. So if you spend $20,000 for $50,000, or you spend $50,000 for a token, you spend $20,000, you're in divorce, you have $30,000 left, you can resell that token for maybe the same value that's left on it or more, and keep reselling that token down the line and creating value so that you get some of that money back. And of course, there'll be a smart contract that maybe as an attorney or the law firm, we get, 10% off the top of the sale or something like that. But these are ideas that I've had of how to try to disrupt the market and kind of change the way that lawyers interact with the clients to create more value for the client.
And the same thing could be done by accounting firms, and the same thing could be done by architectural firms, and the same thing could be done by really any professional service provider. Rather than billing you by the hour, they could sell you a token, which you could buy, and then, it's almost like a store gift card, if you will, which can then be transferred for the unused portion of it. That would really change the way people interact with professional service providers, and would really change the economics of professional service businesses.
And
Can you all kind of imagine how this might apply to your business or your life or what you're doing? Yes? No? Yeah? Good.
And one of the benefits, I think, as all the lawyers up here, is a lot of times we try to show our clients the value we're providing them. And sometimes clients want to rush through a case because they're worried about the legal fees. They want to rush through a case, or they'll say, I'll take a settlement even though I shouldn't because I just can't continue to afford paying these legal fees. Well, having an NFT or a token that can retain value is a way to really keep the legal field ethical and also provide clients the value where they don't feel so rushed or so pinched for the dollar. They can maintain their value and also even sell the token later on. So it's really a great way to picture the future of legal services.
Well, let me ask you a question. if you had to hire a lawyer, an accountant, an architect, a tax strategist, anything like that, and all things being equal, two different people you could choose to hire. One said, look, it's going to be $50,000 for an NFT, and whatever you don't use, you can resell. And the other one says it's going to be $500 an hour, and the fee's probably going to be somewhere between, $40,000 to $75,000. Which would you rather do? Who would rather buy the NFT? Raise your hand. Who would rather just pay by the hour as you go? Okay. It's about an even split. That's really interesting. Okay. I'm not trying to convince you one way or the other. I just...
Are you saying that I'm guaranteed that my services will be fulfilled completely for the cost of the NFT no matter what? And if there may be something left at the end of the day, then I'll buy the NFT?
Then you buy the NFT. Right.
Could I also use this for one lawyer and then say, hey, I want to use $25,000 for your services and then I'm getting divorced because I didn't get... Yeah, you guys do it that. And then allocate $25,000 to you even though it's the same NFT token or no? Like,
That's a really interesting idea
not-
that we hadn't considered. This is the whole point of this panel.
That'd be interesting. That'd be a
is
network
really
of
just for us to
lawyers.
all be brainstorming and thinking together. Yeah.
Right, be a law token.
So it's
I like that.
transferable between firms, not just between clients. All right? All right? Anyone else? Someone else had their hand up? Yes, in the yellow over here.
Well-
That's a possibility. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
In the past, I would agree with you, but I talk to the clients all the time, and sometimes they question the value, and I'm always surveying my clients to find out, like, how can we provide more value? And I think if we could be, I think this would make legal fees and everything more transparent, and not just for, again, like Rjon said, not just for lawyers, but for any business, because you're providing something where people can transfer it, and it's almost like you're buying a credit. And to me, I think that would be a more efficient way for the business to do business, because you have your stream of money. You don't have any, or not that we have incentive to overbill people, but that's what clients think sometimes, right? And this would take that inefficiency out of the equation.
All right, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to call on people, and I'm going to repeat your question back so that everyone can hear it, and we also have it for the recording.
So with your idea, it's a good idea, but there would have to be that upward cap. Because as the consumer, I'm sitting here going, all right, I'm overpaying you $30,000, A, so you're going to make money off dollar cost averaging that over time. Okay, so you're keeping my extra interest, and I'm paying an extra 10%. So I would have to get something on that other side as in a cap.
So let me flip this around. What if you went to and I'm not going to keep saying lawyer, because everyone thinks, oh, I'll never need a lawyer, right? What if you go to an accountant, right? What if you go to an architect? What if you go to any professional service provider, or maybe it's a lawyer? Yeah, please. Thank you. And what if that person says to you that I'm going to charge you, I'm making this up, $500 an hour? And you say to them, tell you what, instead of charging me $500 an hour, why don't you sell me an NFT? Why don't you sell me a token? And I'll give you $40,000. I'll put it into this token, and you credit me at the rate of $4.50 an hour, so you save 10%. But whatever I don't use, I want to have the right to sell that token to someone else to recoup whatever I didn't use, and they'll still get it for the same $4.50 an hour. that could save you money on your professional service fees, and it could allow you to recoup your unspent fee. Do you recognize what I'm describing here?
Right.
Look, I'm not asking if this is like, I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. What we're trying to do is we're trying to expand everyone's thinking into realizing, holy crap, this concept of an NFT can be applied in ways that most people aren't even thinking or talking about, and it will truly change. I mean, it changes the whole dynamic of power in every relationship. Microphone over there.
So, a few questions. Who owns the token, and is it a stable coin? So, are you basically buying, is there any way your clients can make money? Otherwise, I would either pay in fiat, or I can just pay in crypto. And maybe you would accept something, maybe you would accept a crypto that's not at $1 yet, or maybe just ETH or Bitcoin. I'm just seeing like what would be the benefit for a client to have to go through the work of buying your token, and then, especially you're a divorce lawyer, especially during divorce, I don't have to deal with reselling an NFT, in that case.
What if it helped you save 10 or 15% off the fee?
But what if? It's an if. And it's,
Well, because the
but
fee's
only
gonna be-
thing
the
is certain is the extra work I have to
In
do.
the example that I'm describing, the attorney's fee is $500 an hour.
Right.
And you say, I will prepay.
So it's like a retainer fee.
It's a retainer fee that you can transfer the unused portion to someone else.
And it can
You're
be
getting
bundled with other services too.
You're getting a discount on the fee because you're buying it as a token.
Okay. I mean,
You get what I'm saying?
I fully understand the concept. I just think like the application of it, it would be more interesting if it was something that required I could just
Could you
pay.
deal with that, please, the sound?
What is that?
I know, go investigate, find out where it is.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I would want to
Yeah.
I would prefer to be paid in crypto.
Okay.
Right, and I'd also try to make sure before we'd even do something like this that it's actually beneficial for the client. Because the whole idea is I'm trying to take some of the risk of the client, okay, and
Yeah.
share it, right?
So it's like PI, like personal injury, but contingency fee kind of thing? If you're trying to take the risk, like you don't have to pay ahead, or you have to pay?
No, you
All right,
have to pay.
I
yeah.
think that you're putting together currency and NFT, and they're not. And I keep trying to separate them so you can see the NFT, the utility,
I'm trying to see the utility in this.
Number one, you save money. So instead of
Maybe.
paying, you save
Because
money.
his
Instead-
example was what? It was 20,000, but it didn't end up being that. And the whole point of
I
it
was thinking
is,
buy a $50,000 coin.
So look, scenario
Right.
one. You go to the attorney says, you go to the architect, you go to the accountant, you go to whoever, and you say, how much? And they say $500 an hour.
no, I understand. I'm
Okay.
an attorney as well, but I don't practice.
And so the first hour is 500, the second hour is 500, third
Yeah.
hour 5, right? You get $20,000 into the case, and the case has now been resolved, and you've spent $20,000 at $500 an hour. You got nothing to show for it except the services and the results. Scenario two, you say, you know what? I'll prepay you $40,000 to keep the math easy, we'll call it $400 an hour. And now, instead of consuming $20,000 in fees, maybe because it's only $400 an hour, you only get $15,000 in fees, and you've got 15 from 40 is 35,000.
No,
$25,000. You got $25,000 of store credit left over. You got a $25,000 store credit left over. And yes, you now have to sell that NFT to someone else, but the benefit is you can recoup your $25,000 and you got to consume the services at $400 an hour instead of $500 an hour. Now, some people will say, you know what? The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Saving $100 an hour isn't worth the trouble of having to sell the NFT on the back end. But some people might say, wow, that is worth it to me. And this could be applied in all different kinds of business relationships, not just lawyers or accountants.
I mean, because I consult with other attorneys in blockchain, and I was saying, you know, who I want to hire is someone who can do Solidity, or you can actually program a smart contract. I mean, that's kind of what I'm kind of getting to. It's just like everyone wants to have a coin, but actually being able to go, we like going to lawyers when we're buying a house or something, because you're the arbiter, you know, you could sit there and you make it fair. Instead of, you know, we can go to the expert and get that smart contract done and get that NFT programmed, whatever it is. And I was just wondering if you guys are like interested in that. You seem.
We are, but we're trying to stay focused on how NFTs can be used in business
So
in
am
ways
I.
that people.
It's kind of the same thing. It's a smart contract, but it's an NFT.
Agreed. We can talk about that
I
later.
want to bring back to the main topic of this panel, that is ideas that we have for you guys to develop businesses that could be NFT based. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the options that I see. I'm an immigration attorney, and I see a lot of problems in many areas, and I'm hoping you guys can solve some of them. For example, every time I'm going to file a case on behalf of a client, I have to show who that person is. I have to show the medical records, the criminal records, and the education credentials. And obtaining those documents can be burdensome, can take years, and some people sometimes cannot even get them. For example, clients sometimes cannot get a birth certificate. There are over 10 million people in the world that don't have a passport, don't have a birth certificate, that is stateless. It would be great if one of you could come up with an idea of creating a system where you can actually check the background of a person and create an NFT to have that person identified. And that person could go all over the world and being able to say, I'm Patricia Casillo Flanagan, without having to show a passport, having to show a birth certificate. It also will be great if you could help some of my clients with their credentials. Unfortunately, I know that today many of us don't really believe that bachelor's degrees are necessarily needed to be successful, for example. But for the immigration system, for half of the visas that I file every day, I better have a bachelor's degree from my client. My client has to be able to show me the transcripts and the diplomas. So it would be great if one of you could create a system where the credentials of the professional and educational credentials of a person could be verified. And that person could carry that coin everywhere and show, this is where I went to school, these are my transcripts, these are my grade, and they don't have to call their school that might not exist anymore, that the records might have burned down 20 years ago, and you can actually provide that person with proof that that person achieved that. Also, employment records. Immigration asks for employment records on my clients all the time. But they many times don't have anybody from their old company to go and ask for a letter of recommendation, because guess what? That company has closed a while ago. So if one of you could come and assist them to verify their employment history, that would be great. I also think that NFT could be used to verify medical records. Do you know how psychologists and therapists send records to my office? They send faxes. Like your records, when I send a request to a doctor to send me your medical records for me to send to immigration, they send me a fax. It would be so great if one of you could come up with an idea where we could walk around with our medical records.
Like a personal dossier NFT.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's dental records and medical records. What we're talking about is, and look, all we're trying to do here is expand everyone's thinking. The microphone over here. Expand everyone's thinking. So imagine a child is born. So look, I'll give you a real use case. I have a file that my staff keeps for me. And it's like basically the Rjon file. And so every time I have to apply for life insurance, every time I have to apply for a line of credit, every time I buy something buy a boat, buy a car, sign a lease. Every time I do things, the lenders, the underwriters, they all need my whole life story, right? And so I'm constantly having to send them my tax returns, my credit rating, my personal financial statement, my business financial statement, my driver's license. I mean, all of my life has to keep being sent. And you know where I keep it? In a Dropbox. That's where I keep it, right? Like, it's stupid, right? Imagine a world where a child is born and the child is given a birth certificate and the child is also given their own NFT, right? Their own non-fungible token for that child. And everything that happens in that child's life, the child's medical records, the child's school records, when the child gets their driver's license, when the child gets their first bank account, imagine everything in that child's life becomes part of this NFT that lives permanently on the blockchain. And wherever that child goes, that child has access to their whole life in one place, securely. I mean, you know, raise your hand if you're from a third world country. Okay, you guys understand what I'm talking about. Raise your hand if you're not from a third world country. We don't really understand what I'm talking about, right? Because people who, there's large parts of this world where you don't get to just like call the hospital or call the county, right? You don't have access to your records. Imagine how great it would be when a person relocates from one part of the world to another part of the world, if they could take their whole life with them in a non-fungible token. That would be great for humanity. No, it wouldn't? Why wouldn't it? Give her the microphone.
How about privacy?
Hold on. Whoa.
Can you address the privacy issues then?
Yeah,
It will
it's
be
all
zero privacy.
It's all secure because you have the same key that you're going to use to protect your cryptocurrency.
But who will have the access to all
The
the data?
child would have the access.
How about when you go and apply for a loan, for a car loan, for example?
Yeah.
So they will have access to it, correct?
They would have access to the portions of it that you want to give them access to through a smart contract.
Okay, so what information they will access then?
Whatever you want them to access.
What if let's say you talk about a person just was born, right?
Right.
And let's say the person has some medical condition,
Right.
right? And it's all recorded. And right now we have laws that will protect, let's say the rate of insurance. So when he will apply for health insurance or life insurance,
Yeah.
that all information will be there.
Right.
Right? And let's say now we have laws that will protect the rate. But maybe in the future, law will change. We'll have new government and everything will change. So it will be on the blockchain. So when
Right
you
now
apply
it's on a-
for insurance,
Right now it's
they
on a-
will see that you
right
have
now it's on a-
precondition, the
right
insurance
now it's on a
rate will be
Dropbox.
up.
Right now it's on a
Right now,
Dropbox.
yes, but I'm just talking about the future. So you have to think about many things. How do you protect privacy? How secure would it be? Who will have access to it? And basically how do you protect it? So there are many, many issues that needs to be addressed, specifically from a legal standpoint and from a policy as well.
Well, isn't it fucking great that we're here having this conversation? Because guess what's going to be happening in the future? People are going to be trying to do this, right? And I think it's a great thing. And I think that we can use smart contracts to protect the privacy and to make everyone's life easier. And you're concerned about the problems with it. And, look around. There's 5,000 people at this conference, right? It's only 5,000 of us. The vast majority of people in this country have not a clue what any of this stuff is. We are, all of us, look around, look at each other. We are the thought leaders. We are the people, you are the people who will be having influence on how this stuff gets used in the future. And that's what this panel is for, is to get us thinking and talking about it. So I'm not going to debate you. I'm not going to argue with you. I have no need to be right. I don't care what you think or what I think. What I care about, what we care about, is that we are talking about this stuff and we're thinking about this stuff, right? All right, guy in the yellow shirt has a.
So I liked your example of just kind of mentioning an unused gift card, because that's kind of what it sounded like. I didn't really see a difference between blockchain technology and a gift card from what you guys were talking about. So when I was hearing what you guys were saying, it sounds like you're kind of beating around tokenization of people, tokenizing yourself. So I'm wondering, are lawyers looking at how can I launch my own coins, and then people can buy those coins, and maybe just for a few coins you can get some consultation time. And for another set of coins, you can have a meet and greet with some of your resources or the people you know. And for other coins, you can go into a full lawsuit or divorce or whatever.
That's a great idea. Are you guys aware of the talk that's begun around the world where cities will stop charging taxes and start going with a SaaS model? Anyone heard of this? Okay,
Software as a service?
Sorry?
SaaS, software as a service?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
software as a service, right? So we're increasingly entering a world where you don't have to own real estate to preserve your assets, because we have cryptocurrency, which is in many cases a better preservation of assets than real estate. It's certainly a better preservation of assets than fiat currency, and Bitcoin will soon become a better preservation of assets than gold in the middle of next year, when some mathematical formula that I can't explain happens. So people are going to increasingly not be owning real estate, right? We don't have to own cars almost anywhere to get around, between Uber and Zipcar and all that kind of stuff. We don't need to be tied to bank accounts with cryptocurrency. We don't have to be tied to regular mail, right? I mean, does anyone get your bills on paper anymore? I mean, it's all digital now, right? And people are becoming more and more and more mobile. Earlier, Tom and Mindy gave a talk about what happens when people start getting married on the blockchain, right? We are progressing towards a world, I think, where people are increasingly going to be living their lives in the metaverse and on the blockchain, which means, we're going to have digital nomads going from place to place. Miami is like in a little bit of a feud right now, in case you didn't know it, with San Francisco. And the mayor of San Francisco called the mayor of Miami, jokingly, not like a jerk, but basically, stop stealing my people, because we keep taking people from all the major cities to bring them to Miami, right? Well, how's Miami going to fund itself when it's got a whole bunch of people living here for now, right? Where they're not paying property taxes. So what people are beginning to talk about is where you essentially pay a monthly fee to the city that you live in order to have access to city and county and municipal services while you're living there. So look, you don't have to say you like it. And I can tell from the expressions of some of your faces that some of you are like repelled by this idea. But the fact of the matter is, this is what people are talking about. And if people start talking about this, eventually these are the kind of things that are going to start to happen. So we can either stick our head in the sand and pretend like it's not going to happen, or we can say, wow, how can we profit by thinking this way? And that's what I feel like this panel is turning a little bit into a debate with the audience, because we got a bunch of fucking lawyers on the panel, and apparently we got some lawyers in the audience, and they want to have a debate. And there's no winning and there's no losing. All we're doing is talking. All right?
So I have one more question.
Yes.
An escrow company seems like something you could replace with a smart contract. Have you guys seen any of that, or how does that operate, if you've seen it?
Yeah, there's third-party vendors. I forget what they're called. They have a specific name that right now they operate with smart contracts, and you deposit your coins, your crypto in it, and the terms are decided scarily, not by a lawyer, no lawyer involved, and then the smart contract
Just
will,
execute.
yeah, they will execute if
Disperses funds.
Self-execute.
self-execute.
The microphone needs to go back there. All right, I'll repeat it.
Hopefully everyone can hear me. So for like divorce or like when settlements are due, can you basically create smart contracts where, hey, X person who gets divorced by a person has to pay $100,000 on a monthly basis or annually? Is that something that you think smart contracts will be able to help facilitate so that way there's not any breach of contract or things like that in the future?
Absolutely. So if you look at the way settlement contracts are drafted, it's an if this, then that. So it's an easy application to make a settlement contract, or a lot of different divorce and family law contracts work that way. Child support can work that way with child support enforcement. Instead of having the court staff have to draft these court orders saying we're, send out the enforcement letters, it could automatically trigger and go out based upon, an occurrence which will be non-payment.
Exactly. A court orders a piece of paper that says you must do this. Do you know how many people say, screw you, court paper, sue me, bring me back into court because I know you don't have the money to collect that $100,000 marital settlement you owe me, and I want to make you pay? So a smart contract can get around this by making it execute. $100,000 is due, boop, it's executed, it's in your bank account. And it cuts out all this bullshit that people have to go through with the court system to get execution on these marital settlement agreements or contracts.
Yeah, it's an excellent application.
Pass the microphone over here. Is there anyone else back there? Or Tim, you want to just speak up and I'll repeat you.
What if someone doesn't have 100,000 in their bank account when it's executed?
What if someone doesn't have
Let's say
100,000?
there's a smart contract. You're saying that if someone, it's an if this happens, then that happens. If this happens and that happens, and it executes.
So let's start off with the question of forget about NFTs, forget about cryptocurrency, forget about the blockchain, forget about all that stuff. Let's just say that, 20 years ago, before any of this technology existed, a judge orders a spouse, an ex-spouse, to pay an amount in alimony or child support. The judge writes it on a piece of paper, stamps it, issues the order. The spouse who's ordered to pay, they pay, and then one day they don't pay. They don't pay because they don't want to, they don't pay because they don't think they should, or they don't pay because they don't have the money to pay. You got me? You got me? Yeah. All right. The way that used to work, the way it currently works, Mindy, tell us how that works absent smart contracts.
So there's a few different things. Normally, you file for contempt, meaning you breached an order, and you go back in front of the judge, and the judge says, hey.
Oh, back up.
Yeah.
The person who's supposed to receive the money doesn't receive the money.
Yep.
A day goes by, 2 days goes by, a week goes by. They didn't pay their rent. Mm-hmm. They didn't pay their private school tuition for the kids, right? They call their lawyer.
Bring. Hi, I didn't get my money. I say, okay, let me call their lawyer. Bring. Hi, lawyer.
No. Ring. He's not here right now. He'll call you back. And 2 days later,
Yep.
They finally connect.
We connect. Hey,
Meanwhile, you're not paying your rent. You're not buying groceries. And you're sweating your ass off because you got, private school tuition coming up. And meanwhile, this whole thing is creaking along like molasses in winter. So play it out, but go step by step and help everyone understand how this actually works today.
Hello, other lawyer.
Hello?
Your client owes mine money, and you know this because we spent $100,000 to get to this agreement.
I don't debate that my client is supposed to pay your client. What are you saying? Are you saying my client didn't pay?
I'm saying your client didn't pay.
Oh, well, that's terrible. He should have paid.
I know.
I agree. Let me look into that and get back to you.
Okay.
All right? So now I spend a week tracking down my client, listening to his bullshit, and he says he paid. And I call her back and I say, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hi, listen, I spoke to my guy and my guy said he paid.
Well, your guy's a liar.
Well, look, who's to say? Because he says that your client's a liar. And so, look, nothing personal. We're friends back from law school. They're not adversarial between us, but my guy tells me one version, and your client is telling you a different version. So, look, I guess the only way we can resolve this is we're going to have a hearing in front of the judge. Would you like to draft the order, or would you like to draft the motion, or should I draft the motion?
I'll draft the motion.
Okay, thanks. I owe you. Next time I'll draft the motion. So you draft the motion. So now it's another week goes by. She finally drafts the motion because she's busy. She's got stuff going on. And then she files the motion, and then the judge sets the motion for hearing. It's now been like 5 months since you didn't get paid.
Or a year.
And the hearing date you get is 6 months away from when you filed for the motion.
So a year after you didn't get paid, while you're still not getting paid, and you hope the judge doesn't reschedule. Well, things happen, right? I mean,
COVID happened. The courts were closed for a year.
This is how it is today in reality. And so what we're excited about is imagine what would happen if you could just use a smart contract. So I'm going to give it to Tom or Mindy. Take it away and talk about how that same scenario plays itself out when you're using a smart contract. And the whole time you're listening to this, everyone, I want you to not be thinking about a divorce. I want you to not be thinking about child custody or anything like that. I want you to use your brilliant, creative imaginations that I know you all have or you wouldn't be here, and think about, I could apply this in some other way in my own business or my own life. I could see how this could be used in a different context. Can you all do that? All right? Go.
So here's the scary part. So in a smart contract in that situation, if you didn't have $100,000 and you were supposed to pay whatever it is, that smart contract would look to see if the money's there, probably come back, give you a warning, just issue automatically, then give you another warning. This is how I'm imagining this would go. Give you maybe a third warning, and at that time, there's no judge. The smart contract should just say, okay, I'm going to try to pull that money out of your account, however much I can get. And if they can't get it, then it's going to issue a warrant for your arrest to the sheriff's office, and then the sheriff's going to go and arrest you. It would be way more efficient and way quicker, and I think it would probably, well, not in 3 days, but I think however it's scheduled, say, I don't know, be something reasonable, like every 3 months or I don't know.
But I don't think we can stress enough for anybody on this panel how molasses slow the court system works. And this is where people lose faith in the law. This is where people lose faith in the justice system. And as lawyers who truly care about our clients, we want to use this wonderful technology. We want to use the future to help our clients solve these problems.
So earlier I said, these smart contracts are scary. A lot of the times they're not written with lawyers. And it's not that we prefer our own contracts, although I think my contracts are pretty great, but they're not self-executing. So we see a world where developers and attorneys work hand in hand to put together these agreements so that it can be properly written as to what the parties intend, and then the developer will code it properly so that you minimize the risk of hacking and making sure that this actually works the way that it's supposed to.
And I think the hardest part will be having the centralized government aspect of the court system kind of releasing some of their control over this so that these smart contracts can work properly. Now, not all smart contracts can be smart, and I have issues with the real estate world because the real estate world, I think, is going to be dependent with smart contracts still upon a third person or a third party intervening to say, yes, this did happen or this was completed before that smart contract goes. And I think that becomes not a smart contract at that point because you have 3 parties involved and it's still centralized.
Right, and we're talking more about like escrow, the escrow portion of real estate.
The escrow portion I have a big issue with.
And to talk about what you were saying, yes, these companies exist that hold escrow, not in real estate, but but they do exist, and it's not, there's no interpretation by a lawyer and whatnot. But the thing, what you're saying, it really is, I
There's an
think
escrow agent still.
an escrow agent needs to be there because there's some things that you can't code. There's specific instances that you cannot foresee. So it might be written black and white, but there's the gray areas, and there needs to be an escrow agent. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that. There's, smart contracts are great for some things.
Right, and
And
so
some-
if they're going to be drafted, so smart contracts, I think, are the future for a lot of this. It's a question of how do we draft them in a way so that there aren't mistakes, or we don't need third-party intermediaries to execute and make the smart contract work. So you asked if a mediator, what was the rest of that? Well, right, so you're saying what happens if we need a mediator if the people don't agree on the transaction? And that's where I have a hard time trying to see the application of some smart contracts to the legal world, where we have contracts where we have certain requirements for a contract to be made, like mutuality, right? So do we actually have an agreement? Do these people actually, I can't remember all the different phases of the contract, but.
Right, but it's more for like when there's a performance requirement, and it has to be, and then, so you're supposed to do this, but who's measuring whether you did it or not? Is it an action like payment? Yes, that can be a smart contract. Like you can see it came out of my wallet. Yes, it's been paid. So that could, a smart contract could apply there. But if did the tenant leave the space they were leasing in broom clean condition? So who is going to determine whether it's broom clean condition or it's not? It's very discretionary. And when it's written like that, then it's where you would need an interpreter if the parties disagree. In an escrow situation, so if someone's holding money, then that would be an escrow agent. But if it's between, for example, in a divorce, then someone else would be the person that would determine whether that action was performed or not.
Right, like an idea I thought about in the past is like why someone isn't combing all the decisions for something like family law, say for a specific area, comb all the decisions for the past 50 years, know what's precedent, and coming up with some type of algorithm to do dispute resolutions on the blockchain.
That's what I was going to say, some sort of code where this is a yellow code, this is discretionary, this could trigger a mediator, and then there's no discretionary in this part, this is an execution, this must happen, then this executes. To Tom's point, this has got to be somewhere out there that we can figure out.
Right, but smart contracts are rigid, right? So they're meant to be rigid, and what is it, code is law. So it's supposed to be, if this happens, this must happen, and it's irreversible. That comes into a gray area. Well, it's not even gray, it's a problem for lawyers.
So this is on the real estate front. So currently there are companies that are tokenizing pieces of real estate, and those are security tokens, right? ERC 1400, I believe, is the token. Is it possible, this might be a better question for the DAO conversation, but if a DAO purchases a real estate building, can they then just make the tokens of that the normal ERC 20? Because they can just value it as, directly comparable to the value of the real estate asset?
Well, right now, none of that is happening in Florida, for example. So could it be possible? Yeah, probably, maybe, we'll see. But it's really interesting how even just getting a DAO to actually purchase real estate could be complicated. So stay tuned for that talk, because it's going to be super interesting.
I wanted to add something about that. Is this working? Okay, good. I was discussing this with Maria Jose earlier because in the immigration world, I don't know if you know, but all these high rises in Miami were built with EB-5 money. What is EB-5 money? Actually, people could buy the green cards by investing $500,000 in a building. And there were two ways you could invest the $500,000. You can either give the project $500 as a loan that you may or may not get back in 7, 8 years, but at least you will get your green card. Or you could have a little piece of the actual hotel. So for many years, I always told my clients, well, you know, I cannot really advise you on securities. You have to decide, you have to do your diligence and decide what kind of plan you want to go. But remember, if you're getting 1% of a building, who are you going to sell that to? But I guess now with no fungible tokens, like, it makes it real that you could actually sell your 1% of the hotel to somebody. And I think it's a very different ballgame.
Fractional ownership.
Okay, I know that on the NFT there is some type of privacy, because I heard about these projects, but also I cannot give them, if I want to bring a cousin, I cannot give her the money because it needs to be owned by that person, generated by that person. If it's an NFT, that will solve the issue?
In all cases, when it comes to investment in the United States, what the government cares is that the money is legal, that it came from a legal source. But by all means, if you have $500 that you earn legally, you can give $500,000 to your cousin. You don't have to go through the NFT route. Gifts are allowed, lottery prizes, anything that you can track to a legal source. Okay, so yes, I write gift letters all the time.
I just want to give everyone a heads up. We gotta end this panel in 10 minutes to try to get this thing slightly back on track with schedules. Just heads up. And what comes next is, what's coming next? Sorry, what? Oh, yeah.
What
So
happens when a DAO buys a commercial real estate property in downtown Miami?
what's going to happen the first time a DAO tries to buy a piece of commercial real estate in downtown Miami? That's what we're going to do next after we do a break, but 10 minutes more, and then we got to do that.
Hey, so I'm just curious, what is the current landscape of the tooling that you use on an everyday basis that has a crypto or a blockchain component to it? And, you know, what is the current barrier to adoption for law firms and crypto-based tools?
For crypto what?
Can you repeat that question one more time? I'm sorry. I missed the first part.
Yeah, so basically the question is how many tools do y'all use on an everyday basis for your law firms that have a crypto component to it? And, you know, what is the barrier to adoption?
So I can speak, I mean, our law firm, it's limited in that we accept cryptocurrency. That is the basic thing for what our law firm can do. And you know how many people we've had do it so far? All right, it's a big number. You ready?
But I'm looking to adopt as much blockchain technology into what we're doing as possible. That's something I've been working on. So I'm open to anybody who has any suggestions.
Have you heard of a pitch where somebody built a low-code, no-code tool for lawyers to create their own smart contracts?
I've been playing with one of those.
Yeah, low code, no code. Yeah.
So in your guys' experience, with understanding the kind of deep philosophical roots of the modern legal framework, do you believe that there's just going to be, or currently exists, a fundamental contradiction between the aspects that crypto bring to ownership and the method by which the state enacts law? So for example, one example would be, do you think the state will ever accept that they would not ever be able to reverse property rights? At this point, most property somebody owns or most asset that somebody owns can be reversed. That ownership can be reversed by the state. And of course, fundamentally, a blockchain may not allow that to happen. Another good example would be privacy crypto. It's right around the corner. And this is definitely going to enable people to have ownership, transfer ownership, being fully anonymous and not pseudo-anonymous like the current protocols exist. So my main question is in your long experience of understanding the philosophy of law, do you believe that there's fundamentally a conflict here? And can this be overcome? Or is this on a collision course in the long run?
So,
And this is going to be the last question, because then we got to go to break.
okay, so this is my opinion. I think the way the law works is fundamentally flawed. I think that the bar associations are run it like, you know, they're the mafia, and they are so slow to adopt. To one of Rjon's points, like in 2001, he had people coming to him saying, hey, do you think email's a good idea? Should we use emails as safe? I mean, that's how freaking backward lawyers are. So I think you're going to have two parallel worlds operating for a long time, like side by side. And that's my issue with smart contracts. Like, we can design as many smart contracts as we want, but I think we're still going to have these third parties involved. We can record marriage certificates on the blockchain, but we're still going to have to record them somewhere else at the recorder's office. We can record deeds on the blockchain, but I still think in some jurisdictions, in some states, they're going to be backward, and we're still have to go to the recorder's office. So you're always going to have that dichotomy. Not always, but for the near future.
I wanted to say that, yes, we went to law school and there was a lot of theory there, but the real world is very different. And at this point, we've been practicing for many years. And unfortunately, the laws and the governments don't move as fast as technology. And it's our job to advocate for changes and to help the government understand where the changes in the law need to be made. For example, there are immigration laws that will tell me my client needs a current passport, but my client cannot get a passport because their government will not give them a passport. So that's when I see technology, like another form of identification, will be useful for my client. And at that point, I have to advocate against the law and say, you cannot ask that from my client because my client has no legal way to get it. So, yeah, the theory is very pretty, but we have to change as technology changes, and we have the power to do so. But all of us have the power to do so by being here and learning from each other.
All right. So we're going to go to break. When we come back from break, MJ is going to talk about what it's going to look like, what she thinks it might look like the first time a DAO tries to buy a piece of commercial real estate in downtown Miami, which of course you could translate that to the first time a DAO tries to buy a commercial piece of real estate anywhere in the country, right? And then you can obviously go from a commercial real estate to the first time a DAO tries to buy a hospital, the first time a DAO tries to buy any kind of a business that is rooted in the real world and has to be managed. What's that going to look like, right? She's going to talk about commercial real estate, but you are all very smart people and will be able to make those connections. So we'll take a quick break and come back for that. Before we go to break, I just want to ask everyone, take out your phone. Take out your phone. Take out your phone. Phone. Y'all got your phones out? Take your phone out. Do you not have a phone? Okay. And point the camera at the QR code. Point the camera at the QR code. And when you point the camera at the QR code, you will see a page that will pop up. And on that page, at the top of it, is a button that says Ask Rjon Now. So the idea here is you can post questions, and I'll be getting them on my email. And later today, we'll have a session where I'll just go through all the questions that come in throughout the day, and I'll just start hitting and answering questions. I'm already getting questions about, I need a hedge fund lawyer to help me stay compliant and navigate SEC regulations. Another person is helping to move our company 10x to the next level. Another one is, I have an NFT collaborative project with 20 artists launching February 2022, and I'm currently raising $125,000. We've already raised $50,000 and need the money to prepay artists and build the marketing team, blah, 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 blah. And I guess they want to know how to avoid going to jail when the SEC body slams them if they fuck that up.
Or they don't accidentally rug pull somebody.
Yeah, or make sure they don't rug pull somebody. Anyway, so I'm getting a bunch of questions like that, and post your questions. Someone posted some questions about, I could talk about taxes, I could talk about SEC, I can talk about tax strategy, I can talk about the difference between tax compliance and tax strategy. I'm doing a session, John, later today or tomorrow on tax issues regarding NFTs. I think that might be tomorrow. So just whatever you got, either me or one of us can probably give you a helpful answer. So post it during the break, and we'll see you back in 10 minutes. All right?